Hi writers, I'm excited to write another message with you. I wish I was there in your classrooms, but we aren't, but this is a nice way for us to connect. So today I'm going to be writing a message about spring. Right now is spring, even though it doesn't always feel like it. It is spring, and in the springtime, trees come back to life, flowers start to bloom, we have little baby animals that start to come out, and just animals in general start to come out again. And it gets warmer outside. We don't have to wear our big winter coats and hats and gloves. So it's a great time of year to be getting back outside and playing more. So I think my message is going to be about spring, and I want us to focus in on something that writers do. When writers write, they write complete sentences. So the thoughts that they have a naming part and a telling part. So it has two parts. The naming part is the who or the what, and the telling part is what it does or what it is. So let me give you an example. So if I wanted to talk about the dog goes for a walk, then my naming part is the dog. So I would write my sentence, of course, with a capital letter, and I would write the dog, right? That's what it is. The dog goes on a walk. That's a complete sentence. It has a naming part, the dog. The dog is the naming part. And the telling part is all the things after it that talk about what the dog does. Goes on a walk. So that's the telling part. The naming part is the dog, and the telling part is goes on a walk. When we're writing sentences, we need to have a naming part and a telling part so that our sentence is complete. So if I wanted to talk about myself, I might say, I like milk. So I is the naming part, like milk is the telling part. So this is a complete sentence because it has a naming part, I, and then it has a telling part, like milk. So when we write sentences, we need to make sure we have a naming part and a telling part, a capital letter and a period. And that makes your writing make sense. It makes it easy for the reader to read. And that's the whole point of writing, so that the reader can understand what you're writing. So we need to do that. So my sentences today, we're going to look out and make sure that they're complete. And we're going to think about what the naming part and the telling part is after we read it. So during the message, I have some special words. One of the words in the message is going to be a juicy word, and the word is blooming. And I was telling you that right now flowers are starting to grow again, and they're blooming, which means they're flowering, which means they have the pretty petals and the colors to it, and they're growing and thriving. So blooming is when you see something growing and a flower bloom coming out is the colored parts where the petals of the flower start to peek out from the flower, from the stem. Anyway, blooming. So we're going to have that in the sentence, and then we're going to have some word wall words. And the first one we're going to have is the word the. So let's do something to help us remember how to spell that. The means one thing. The cat, the dog, whatever it might be, just one of them. So let's plant a seed and pat down the seed. So we're going to put the seed in this will be our soil. We're going to put the seed in. So T-H-E spells the. And now let's do the next one, R. So R is a word wall word, and it talks about what something has, like you are kind. So it's a little connecting word. You are a good friend. All right, let's put our seed in the soil. A-R-E. R. Try it again. A-R-E. R. Excellent. Our last word is the word and. And is another connecting word when you want two things together. So I am tired and hungry. Okay, So let's put our seed in. A, N, oh, I didn't pad it. So A, N, D, and do it again. A, N, D, and excellent. So we're going to be on the lookout for those words in our message as well. So let's get started. I thought I would write our message about spring. So it's going to be talking about springtime and how spring is in the air right now, right? We're feeling spring right now. Flowers are blooming all around and the weather's starting to get warmer. So I'm going to write my message, and as I'm writing my message, you read along with me and say what you see me writing, okay? Help me out with the reading. I'm going to read together. And we know that when we start a sentence, what are we going to start with? Capital letter, and we're going to start on the left side of our paper. So what season are we in right now? We're in the season of, that's right, spring. So a word you probably know is in. There's that word. The long A word, air. Let's read that sentence. You ready? Spring is in the air. Good reading. Okay, and let's go on to the next sentence. And I'm going to swoop down, come to the left, and start with a capital letter for this next word. Flowers. What's the word? Flowers. Here's one of those words. This is our juicy word. What do flowers do in the spring? They are blooming, right? They are blooming. Blooming all around. Flowers are blooming all around. And then we have a new sentence. Let's read this sentence though first. Flowers are blooming all around. And so I'm going to start with a capital letter this time. I put my period. And now I'm going to start with this word that we know. The weather. The weather is, what's happening to it? Yep, it's getting warm. The weather is, and an ing in that word, warming up. So let's read that sentence. Ready? The weather is warming up. So let's read the whole message now. Ready? Spring is in the air. Flowers are blooming all around. The weather is warming up. Nice reading. All right. So we talked about how we were going to see about how the sentences were written. We were going to talk about the naming part and the telling part. So let's think about what the naming part is in my first sentence. So my first sentence said, spring is in the air. Okay, so what are we talking about? What's the thing that we're talking about? That's right, spring. So that's our naming part. And the telling part, what is this? What's spring? What's going on with spring? That's right, is in the air. That's the telling part. We're telling all about spring. Spring is in the air. Okay, so let's look at our next sentence and make sure it's a complete sentence. Does it have a naming part and a telling part? So flowers are blooming all around. What are we talking about? Flowers. So that's our naming part. And the rest of the sentence is about the flowers. The telling part are blooming all around. Excellent. So our last sentence, the weather is warming up. Nice. So what's the sentence about? The weather, that's the naming part. And what's it telling us? What's going on with the weather? Is warming up. So that's the telling part. Fantastic. All my sentences are complete. They have a naming part and a telling part. They have a capital letter and an end mark. So that's fantastic. Complete sentences make it easy to read and understand. Before we finish up, let's just see if we can find our word wall words. Let's see if we can find them. All right, you tell me when to stop when you see one. There's one. What word is that? That's right. You think of a sentence to go with that word right now. The spring is nice. Whatever your sentence is, okay? Let's see if there's any more of those, because I think there was another the somewhere. There it is. There's another one. 2 of those. Okay, let's look for R. R. Is it in the first sentence? No. Is it in the second sentence? Yes, it is. Which word is it? Is it the first word, the second word, the third word, the fourth word, the fifth word? Did you say second? There it is. R. It's the second word in that sentence. The last one is and. Where is and? Oh my goodness, I don't even have and up here. Why did I put that as a word? Oh my goodness. It's not even up here. Oh well, sometimes teachers make mistakes, right? But you got to practice this word, and isn't even up there. Silly me. I think when I wrote the message the first time, I wanted to combine sentences. Spring is in the air and flowers are blooming all around. But I took it out and made 2 sentences. So our message is all finished. So let's read it one more time all together. Ready? Spring is in the air. Flowers are blooming all around. The weather is warming up. Nice. One more time. Spring is in the air. Flowers are blooming all around. The weather is warming up. Fantastic. So writers, when you're writing, make sure that you have a naming part and a telling part to your sentences so that your writing is easy to read and so it makes sense to the reader. Keep up the good work writing and trying these things at home. Thank you.